Guys, welcome back to HPL. Saw Ek0p take a quick 1-0 lead over Sjow here with a Druid deck that frankly just had a absolutely perfect draw against Sjow's Freeze Mage.
Yeah, I drew to something, again, that performs very well against control decks. Very high mana utilization throughout of it. Doesn't have to kill a ton of minions. We saw him kill the most important one, of course, when his Ragnaros picked off a Doomsayer and a Frost Nova Doomsayer turn. Very big point for him. So this is kind of the stage now where I think it gets a little bit shaky for Sjow, is that Ek0p has shown you he can play anything at this point. Do you want to play something more aggressive because you think that he's going to play Druid again? Do you continue to stay with your style and play control? I mean, anything can happen now.
Yeah, absolutely anything can happen. Ek0p can show up with any deck from here. He can go full on control, full on aggro. He could re-queue up Druid. So if I were Sjow, I think I would just stick with my guns and stick with the control deck. Think the deck that I think I could play the best, and try to figure out, you know, what Ek0p's doing. You know, try to feel him out, see what he's going to do the next round. Because again, I mean, you stuck with your guns in game 1, and your draw wasn't very good, and his was pretty perfect. So it's, you know, it's only one game. Let's see what happens in game 2.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. You know, when you're kind of backs against the wall like this, I would just kind of go for where your bread and butter is at. And for him, so far it's been Warrior. I'm actually sort of surprised that we didn't see any Grim Patron Warrior in game 1. And, you know, it's kind of, you know, widely considered one of the absolute best decks that's out there right now. And these guys can play anything they want. Again, there's no way they're restricted. They can play anything they want in game 1. They can change their deck in any way they want. But guys, game 2 is getting underway right now with Ek0p and Sjow. Yeah, but we just talked about, are we going to see something a little bit more aggressive from Sjow? And this is exactly the deck that I was thinking of, was this hybrid hunter deck.
Yeah, this looks like the hybrid version. It has a Sludge Belcher in it, and it looks like Ek0p has Handlock.
Yeah, the thing with this hybrid hunter deck is that it's got those early game key cards that make Face Hunter so very dangerous. Stuff like Leper Gnome, stuff like Wolf Rider, but it's also got stuff like Sludge Belcher and Savannah Highmane. So continue to have high mana utilization throughout. And looking at Ek0p's hand, what is going on?
I think I might have spoken a little too soon when I said Handlock. It's definitely not a traditional Warlock deck. Here we see an Abusive Sergeant and a Malygos, probably the two most polar opposite cards you can have in Hearthstone in your deck.
Yeah, Malygos is a really interesting one. I wonder exactly what his game plan is with this. I mean, when you see something like Malygos, is Soulfire in here? I
mean, you have to assume there's Soulfire in here. These decks have been picking up in popularity a little bit lately, especially among the pros higher up on the ranked play circuit. I've seen a few of these Malygos decks coming in and starting to be played more. So this is going to become standard possibly in the next couple months.
I could definitely see that happening if it continues to win. So Ek0p just going to dig for more options at this point. Choose to use his Abusive Sergeant to pick up this minion kill here instead of using that Dark Bottom in his hand. So he wants to keep his options open. Doesn't value the Abusive Sergeant too high. And a pretty simple turn here from Sjow now. I'd love to get a glimpse of whatever that trap is. Make sure that we know exactly what's going on here. But Knife Juggler, again, this is posing a threat, but perfect answer from Ek0p. And there's a card that will tell you exactly what this deck is now. This is a Dragon Warlock deck.
It's a Dragon Warlock deck. And last turn when he tapped, you saw him pick up a Zombie Chow, which is going to be an actual perfect turn for him here. He's going to be able to Dark Bomb, play Zombie Chow, and have the Zombie Chow to proc this trap from the Hunter.
Yeah, and then you can even follow it up with that Blackwing Technician. He's got so much rolling for him.
Yeah, his deck is firing on all cylinders right now. Sjow.
Well, I mean, this isn't too bad either. I mean, gets the summon a random Huffer from Animal Companion. It seems that is often the case for that one. Misha wouldn't have been too bad here either, just the fact that it's a 4/4 threat. So we know it's not Freezing Trap or Snake Trap at this point. So, you know, Snipe, it couldn't have been Snipe either. I think this has got to be Explosive Trap.
Yeah, it just has to be Explosive Trap from here. Now, Sjow, it's one of the worst feelings in Hearthstone when your opponent plays a card like this one, and then they get the bonus from having a dragon in their hand, because you just know there's a dragon looming for some point in time in the rest of the game.
Yeah, so a couple things happen when he sees that too now. He knows that dragons are in here, and he also knows that one is in his hand. How much does something like Blackwing Corruptor factor in your decision-making at this point?
I think it does a little bit, but at this point, I think Sjow's just going to focus on using his mana utilization as high as possible for the next couple turns, like you see out of most Hunter decks. And, I mean, his hand is kind of actually just played for him. He's going to have to play his deck, Sludge Belcher on turn 5, Savannah Highmane on turn 6, unless something kind of crazy happens. So I don't see him playing around a dragon very much in the next couple turns.
Yeah, pretty difficult to do, I would say, with this hand. I mean, he's already foregone the Piloted Shredder at this point, and I think part of that nod was because of something like Blackwing Corruptor. When you put 2 threats on the board, you know, you're diversifying a little bit here. So Ek0p, I mean, there's 2 easy ways to go with this one now. Number 1 is you can Hellfire and sacrifice this Blackwing Corruptor, or you can decide to start trading, play this Antique Healbot, continue to maintain a stranglehold on this board, and keep your life super high until you get to that King Malygos turn.
Yeah, instead he's going to go for an Antique Healbot, one of the cards you never want to see as a Hunter.
Yeah, that's the face of terror as far as hunters are concerned. You're like, God, he gained 8 life!
And he has a 3/3. I mean, it's just going to be great in this board. He's going to be able to kill the front half of the Sludge Belcher with these cards.
Yep. So Sjow going to continue to push for damage here. This is one of the very key things for Hunter, of course, is making sure that you don't miss any of it. Trades that you take with Hunter are typically going to be very, very favored for you, or not at all. It's kind of one way or the other. Unless you're just so far behind on board that you are forced to trade. That's another one of the nightmare scenarios for Hunter. But again, Ek0p's hand, man, this is looking gorgeous for Ek0p.
Yeah, I mean, both these games have just been great for him. His draws have been great. His matchup has been awesome against his deck. And you see him pull up a Defender of Argus here. That was a pretty good draw.
Yeah, this turn he's going to be suffering some damage here unless he chooses to take out this Sludge Belcher, which it looks like he's going to do. So just doing everything he can to make sure his life total is maintained high. Like you said, he's got that Defender of Argus, so he can kind of swing the board back in his favor next turn. But Sjow's deck is not anywhere close to Adagas at this point.
No, Savannah Highmane, one of the best 6-drops available in the game, not just for Hunter. I mean, it's a huge power minion, and it's very sticky.
That's a strong draw, though. That's going to allow him to get more options, pick up this Leper Gnome kill. Lots of good stuff working for Ek0p here.
You're going to see a Mortal Coil, the Leper Gnome here, get an extra card off of it. Mortal Coil just like one of the best cards against any Hunter deck out there for the Warlock
Whether
deck.
it's Haunted Creepers, whether it's Leper Gnomes, you always find use for it.
And
that's another big one. That's a huge draw for Ek0p at this point. Savannah Highmane all but checked now. He's got a Twilight Drake on board that's healthy enough at this point to trade with that Savannah Highmane.
I mean, Ek0p, not only has he queued up great decks and played well, his draws have been absolutely perfect so far this match. God, you got to feel for Sjow a little bit. I mean, it feels like he's just been trumped on every street.
You know, that's part of what goes into these matchups, though, is thinking about your opponent's style and how that reflects against what you should play. And just like you said, I think Ek0p has been outthinking him pretty much every step of the way so far.
Yeah, so Sjow's going to trade off a few of his minions here, kind of clear up the board. This game, he's going to need to go long for him to win. He's going to need to start leveraging his hero power from here. And here we go.
There's one roll on this that is not very good if he chooses to go with that implosion here. I mean, he could just Dark Bomb, keep it safe. But I would venture to say that right now he needs minions on the board to make sure he can keep that control, get Malygos online, and then start pushing for damage.
Well, it's interesting to see if he's going to implosion here because A, you can miss, B, there's already what you assume.
That is a miss.
That's a big miss, and you can already know that this is an explosive trap on Sjow's side, and he has an Eagle Heart Bow with 1 charge on it. So it's a little interesting to see this from Ek0p because, you know, you get blown out by this in a few ways, as you see him having to use an extra card here to deal with the Piloted Shredder. Well, at least he gets a favorable trade off the minion left behind.
A 2/2 drop off of that, I think he's thankful to have.
That's a pretty good draw for Sjow.
That's an okay one. You know, the second Savannah Highmane, the first Savannah Highmane's usually pretty powerful. Ek0p was able to weather that storm, but the second one is going to spell a lot of trouble for him here.
Yeah, we're going to see this game turn around a little bit here. Sjow getting on the board in a big way here with Savannah Highmane, and Ek0p's board looks a little abysmal compared to it, especially since he hasn't procced that explosive trap yet.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be forced to take some damage from here unless he draws a very strong answer to this.
Yeah, Sjow's going to contemplate on using his weapon here, but no, he's going to be patient and try to get that extra charge up.
Well, I think that's a pretty good one.
That was definitely a pretty good one. So I doubt we're going to see Malygos this turn. I think Ek0p was trying to make a board state where he could possibly get a Malygos next turn into it and just let him take the 2 damage proccing the trap. But Savannah Highmane off the top from Sjow is not allowing that.
Yeah, so I would venture to say Sludge Belcher is hitting the board almost 100% here, and then still has the option to play Big Game Hunter. He's going to go ahead and life tap, though. That will take out the front half of this Savannah Highmane here. Able to pick up this minion kill, but that's going to spawn 2 more. So the fact that one of these cards is going to force Ek0p to have to deal with 3 minions is a very, very favorable trade scenario.
Yeah, that was an absolutely great draw for Sjow, getting that Savannah Highmane in that spot. There were a lot of really bad draws from his deck, and that happened to be just one of his best.
Yeah, and now this is going to be the turn where you see him push for a ton of damage. He is 2 off lethal at the moment. Oh, I'm sorry, he has enough mana for it. He
actually has lethal, yeah.
Apologies, he has exactly enough damage to take out 1 overkill. I'm sorry, of course. But that's going to do it, man. He's going to tie this series up at 1 game apiece now. Malygos not getting the job done. We talked about the possibility of seeing some very unique stuff, and from Ek0p especially. We saw it this game, but it didn't work out for him.
No, it didn't work out for him. And you actually saw Sjow draw very well there in the middle of the game. That Savannah Highmane off the top was just at the perfect time. He had gotten his first one Owl, so it wasn't going to get the value that it needed to get in this control matchup. But getting that second one at that exact time let him have enough pressure to finish the game and just get enough through in those last couple turns just to kill Ek0p there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of exactly what you're seeing from something like this hybrid Hunter deck too, is that it's going to get a lot of pressure on the board when it gets into its mid stages, and it has more powerful cards than it would typically have. We saw Sludge Belcher in there, we saw Savannah Hyman, and we saw stuff like Wolf Rider, and every single one of those cards was utilized to pretty much the maximum effect.
Yeah, that's what you want to get with a Hunter deck. You want your mana utilization to remain high and get as much damage to enemy heroes as possible every turn, sneaking in all those extra hero powers that you can, and then making the most out of every card that you get. Now, it's real interesting to see. We've seen a wide range from our players here in these two games. We've seen multiple control decks, we've seen a mid-range deck, and we've seen an aggro deck. What do you think we're going to see here in Game 3?
Man, it's anybody's guess exactly what's going to happen, guys. So they're making changes to their decks right now before they get into Game 3. And when we come back, we're going to find out who takes the lead as the series is tied 1-1 between Ek0p and Sjow. Don't go anywhere, guys. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.